I think it's a really good thing that he's got going on here with the Geek groups. You know, I wish I had something like that when I got started, but I didn't. So, you know, I just a plug for that. I think it's an awesome idea, and you get to meet awesome people that are trying to move forward. So, yeah. So normally I'm always talking about multifamily, but Max said, "Why don't you get on and talk about your land deal?" And so last year I came across a deal, and I'll put in some hopefully little nuggets here for you. But you know, I'm a multifamily guy. I've done a lot of single family, flips, rentals, small units. But you know, I'm always looking at opportunities, and you know, where is something that's interesting, fun, and I can make some money. So see some nodding there. So I looked around, and on and I think you should look not okay. So you should look at the traditional places where you could find deals, talking to the brokers, building those relationships. That's super important. But also look at places like LoopNet and Zillow and Realtor.com and Lands of America and you know and Crexy, just some different places that we normally don't talk about. So I found on Zillow. Oh, let me hit share screen here. Okay. So I found on Zillow. All right, is this sharing my? Is this sharing my screen? This is not sharing my screen yet, is it? Max, do I have permission to do that, or do you have to give me permission?
I believe on Google Meets, everybody's got permission.
Okay, this is not. Okay, I think it's sharing now. Okay, I guess you can see my screen now. Is that right?
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
I was looking on Zillow, and you know, sometimes what I'll do is I'll look for large apartments, small apartments. You know, sometimes you'll have a mom and pop owner. They don't trust brokers. They'll throw it out on LoopNet themselves. And a lot of times we affectionately call LoopNet the garbage can of listings. But if you can find a listing that maybe a self-managed person is looking to sell and save their broker fee, well, they probably could sell it for a lot more with a broker. But you know, that's a place you can look. Now, I got on Zillow last year, sold 225 of 20. I think I actually closed on the 28th, but you know, whatever. Found this beautiful piece of property. I'll read you the description here. Hopefully you're not getting busy. Huge reduction, 304.5 acre ranch located near Burnett and Lampasas. An hour or 55 minutes from Austin, 20 minutes from Lampasas, 18 miles to Lampasas. You know, it goes to talk about what's on there. There's a hunting cabin, insulated workshop, power, buildings, walk-in cooler. And, you know, here's some just pictures of the property. Beautiful property. It has a barn. There's the walk-in cooler, the old homestead. There's one of the ponds. There's an outlay of the land. You can see a little bitty truck on there. That'll give you at the kind of toward the left side on that road, give you a perspective of how big that is. There is another pond on the property. There's a cabin and some barns. There's fields. Anyway, a really pretty property, and of course some livestock and deer and pigs, things like that. So I came by this property, and I just thought, well, this looks interesting. I've never done anything like this. What could I, is this an opportunity, or am I just crazy looking at this? So I looked at what would be the possible exit strategies, because it's one thing to have one exit strategy, but what if that doesn't work out? So I looked at what are all the possible ways we could exit this, and is there, what's the downside? I know the upside is that I think I can make a lot of money, and the downside is, let me see, the downside is, what's the downside? So here's a survey of the land. Can everybody see that survey okay? I guess maybe give me a thumbs up if you can see it. You don't have to unmute yourself. Just okay, I think we'll get some thumbs up. Okay. So the land was broken up into 5 different tracts. You see track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, little tiny writing, and track 5. So I thought the worst case scenario is that I buy this and the county won't let me split this up and develop it. And maybe worst case, I just have to sell these off as individual tracts. So kind of did a little bit of market study on this, and I thought, well, I think I can sell the 76 acres for probably 5,000 an acre. I can probably sell this for 4,500 an acre. I could probably sell this for maybe 7,000 an acre. Maybe I can sell this or 7 to 10,000 an acre. Maybe sell this for 4,000 an acre, or and maybe sell this for 6,000 an acre. And so I thought the asking price was 3,000 per acre. So I thought, well, if I can sell each one of these individually for 20 to 40% more, or actually, if I can sell these for 50 to 100% more, then if I can't split anything up, I could still make a decent profit. So I had, so that was kind of my worst case scenario. I could sell these off as individuals and make some money. Well, I talked to the surveyor, talked to some people at the, actually the surveyor, he knows all the people at the county. So I talked to him and I said, what can we do to split this up and sell off some land? Now, I asked him, what if we sell off the 50 acres and the 81 acres? And I'll keep the 86.7, the 87 acres for myself. And I gave my brother a really sweet deal. I sold him the 76 and the 10 acres here for $300,000. So I gave him an outstanding deal, $3,500 an acre. Should have sold it to him for $7,000 an acre, but he's a brother. So talked to the surveyor, and if you look at these 2 tracks here, this one here, these 2, he said, if we split it up like this, then we could have 13 tracts of land, and we could sell it for probably $10,000 per acre. So 10,000 an acre, well, that's 1.3 million. Sold it to my brother, that part for 300,000, so 1.6 million. And if the purchase price I negotiated from, they were asking I think 900,000, and I offered 825. They came back at 840, and I accepted that. But they were also paying 16,000 towards closing. So I got all this for $824,000. So I thought, so we went ahead and closed on it. And some of this I didn't, some of this I did not know beforehand if we were going to be able to do this. So I kind of took a little bit of a leap of faith, but if it didn't work out, then I still had a backup plan and I could still make some really nice money on the deal. Is this deal making sense so far? So far, so good? Okay. So I'm like, man, best case, we sell this for, you know, a fortune. Worst case, I still do really, really well. And let me see. Charmaine, if you want to go and ask your question, and and I'll either answer it now or answer it later. Whoops.
And your mute's still on, Charmaine, if you're trying to talk right now. And by the way, as you guys are listening to this, I say keep a notepad and just jot down some questions, because I think at the end, Paul will be able to run through some questions into those.
Yeah, yeah.
Is everything okay, Charmaine? Okay.
Okay, well, I'll keep going. So, you know, so I guess just a couple of things, like look for different places. Look through the places where we tell you to look. Build the relationships with the broker, but look at these oddball sites where most people are ignoring. Maybe you can find an outstanding deal. You know, so Zillow is one. Then I had multiple exits. If things go haywire, I'm still okay. Okay, so we split it up like the surveyor said, and really what I did is he surveyed it out, and then I hired someone to clean the property lines, and we put in some gravel roads through the development. Gravel roads and the clearing cost around $30,000. The survey cost about $12,000, and then I ran electricity to the lots, which was $34,000 or so. And actually, I'll show you this. I'll show you kind of a price list of. This is going to let me share. Okay, as Max would say, please hold. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's kind of a price list of how it went. Hopefully this isn't too small for you. You can see I sold my brother 87 acres for $300,000. I should have sold it for probably 650, 700,000. And then these are the actual prices I sold the lots for. You can see ranging anywhere from 83 to 145,000. And then I haven't done this yet, but yesterday I went ahead and gave the approval to split off 4 more lots of land out of my 87. And the broker said, I think we can get 145 for each one of those. And then I'm keeping 47 acres for myself that we just broke ground this week on that we're going to build a house on for ourselves. And I'm estimating that to be worth $470,000. So all in all, that gives you $2.7 million of value. You can see some of the costs. Purchase price $825, sold for, and I have the asterisk there because we think those are going to sell for that price. We got sales cost, hard and soft, the soft cost, and that would be the road clearing, electricity, the surveying. So a net profit of 1.6 million, I used a down payment of 164,000. There's the hard cost, total outlay of 244,000. So I spent 244,000, and in I don't know, a year and a half, made a 667% or 6.67 times multiple. Invested 244, and with a net profit of $1,628,000. So I think that's all the screens I wanted to show you. Okay, so that was a super interesting deal to me. It's outside of anything I've ever done, and I want to do more deals like that if I can. I met a lot of interesting people in the process, and in fact, I met one of my neighbors. He bought 1,700 acres, the property adjacent to mine. He split his up, and he's selling his. Actually, he sold his for around 20,000 an acre. So I realized I could have done much better if I knew what I was doing, but I'm very pleased with the results I had. And now my neighbor, he wants to do that. He wants to do a deal with me. So just meeting different people in the process. It was a great learning process. So yeah, I guess that's my case study. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah. Okay, Michael.
Oh, Paul, how difficult or was it difficult to find buyers once you split the lots up into smaller sizes? And did you use a broker to do that?
Yes, I used a broker to sell them, and it wasn't hard to find buyers, but it was really a perfect time to buy this. I closed on it February the 28th of last year, and and then all of a sudden in like March and April and May, everybody wanted to move to Texas and buy land, and so that worked out really well. Will it always be like that? I don't know. I think it's still going to be like that for a little while. So, but it was pretty easy to sell.
Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
So, when you divided up the lots to sell each lot, did you have to get entitlement or anything like that and like make it shovel ready, or did you just sell the lots and let them deal with that?
I did not have to do any platting or entitlements. Where I live, if the land is more than 10 acres, then you don't have to plat it, you don't have to record it, and you don't have to do any infrastructure. So they said below 10 acres. So all of my lots were basically all the lots were 10.1 acres. And so to go below that, I could have made a lot more money, but then I got to do curb and gutters and sewers, and then take it to a committee and see if any neighbors want to protest what we're doing. And I just thought, well, I'll just go the easy way, and I don't have to get anything approved.
Okay. And the first 13 lots, how long did it take you to once you divided them? How long did it take to sell the first 13 lots?
They all went under contract within probably 4 months. And a lot of people were getting construction loans, which those dragged out to like 3 or 4 months. The people that were buying, of course, cash or with just a straight loan, those went through really fast. A month, 30, 45 days. The construction loans, those dragged out, 4 to 6 months.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. What else?
I got a question for you, Paul.
Okay, go ahead, George.
Did in this particular property it wouldn't fit, but while you were splitting this property and developing it, did you think about single family rentals at all or things of that nature? Because for development, that it seems like that's a constant. We're moving that direction, and if I'm going to develop and I do it that way, I don't have to worry about buyers.
I thought about that, and kind of my thought was, if we split it up and things weren't selling, then I'll build houses on them. I've never really built any new houses. I'm building 2 new houses now for sale, and then I'm actually building. Me and Max and Ben are. I don't know if Max has mentioned this at all, but we're having one built that's under contract to sell in Georgia right now. So yeah, I didn't really think about that. I've got some ideas for that though. You know, maybe some
Okay.
inner housing or some spec housing, or yeah.
I was wondering what it spawned in your brain, what that, because that's a great way to enter the development business. I have to tell you, Paul, not everybody has that wonderful story that they find a great piece and they actually use the information people gave them to make great decisions. And I think it's fantastic that you actually went the simple way and didn't try and squeeze every dollar out of it, because that might have been the undoing. So I kudos to you. Fantastic job.
Yeah, no, we ended up selling it all to the end buyers. There were no builders that bought the land. It was all end users.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, what else? What else?
Paul, maybe
By the way,
tell us about how difficult it was to get the loan. It sounds like you only put down what, 25%?
20%, yeah.
And how difficult was it to find a loan for the piece of land?
Well, I used, instead of using like a regular bank, I used a, what is it called? It's Capital Farm Credit. It's like a, they specialize in ranch and land financing. They were unbelievably easy to work with. Now, I think it would have been entirely different if I went to just some local bank or one of the national banks. I think it would have been much harder, but you know, they basically said, yeah, well, they have their own appraisers on staff at the bank. And they just sent one out there and he's like, yeah, this looks like it's definitely worth it. And it was kind of a stated income deal. I sold an 8 unit to have the down payment for this. Actually, Max, it was the Sunset 611 Sunset that Jody sold me. So so I used the profit from that to buy this land. But the financing was surprisingly easy. And if you do a deal like that, then you know you're going to want to look for a land finance company or a ranch and ag land. I think it was supposed to be 20% down. I think when it came down to it, it ended only being like 18% down or something. So whatever, 164 divided by 840, or maybe it's 841. I don't remember. 19.5%.
And then how about the broker that you worked with to buy the land? Was that the same broker you used to sell the land? And what's his experience? Is he also a residential broker, or what's his experience background?
Yeah, good question. So I found the deal myself. I think it was just on Zillow that I found the deal. And then I used a broker to buy the land that she's brought me some really good deals. And I thought maybe if I use her as the broker, then maybe she'll bring me some other good deals. But then when I went to sell it, I used a guy that only sells land, or he specializes in land sales. Because I figured I could get the best representation and advice.
How helpful was the county or the city in the process?
Well, I'm in a small town, even though I'm less than an hour from Austin, and they were pretty helpful. It was outside the city limits, which, you know, I don't know where everybody lives here, but you know, if you live in the city, you know, it can just be a real undertaking to, you know, get something like this approved in some cities. But outside of city limits, you know, my surveyor sent an email to the county commissioner and said, you know, here's what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? And he replied back, yep, that's fine. And that was it. So it may not be the same everywhere. I'm pretty sure it's not.
Tell us a little bit more about the utilities you put in. You ran electric line, you put in gravel roads, and did you put in a water line? Are those the three things you did? And if so, maybe go into each one and talk about the process for those.
Sure. Let me see here if I can. Let's see if I can have a map. If I can find it real quick. Okay. Okay, so I checked in with the power company to ask them about putting in power lines. They came out and measured, and well, I've got a map here. I don't know if it's going to make any sense to you. I won't show it. It's I have a map that the power company gave me, and they just measured it out, and they said we can install power lines to every one of these lots for $34,000, and you pay the $34,000 in full, and we'll come out and do it. And I think George is laughing because he's paid a lot more for something like this. So, we did that, and that was pretty easy, and it was a huge selling point. Basically, once it was all done, and I had a lot of these under contract, I talked to the city had discovered that they could install water lines, that we could run city water to the property. Well, they've never done this, but they said, we're going to let you, since you're a big time contractor, which I'm not, but they said, you've been in real estate and construction for a long time. It looks like you know what you're doing. If you want to run the water lines to the city specifications, we will come by and inspect them. And as long as it's fine, then we will adopt them. We will adopt the water lines. So I knew that the contractor for the city, he would do it for around $300,000 to $350,000. And I thought, well, I can rent a trencher and I can just get these the pipes myself and install it. You know, it can't be too hard. So I figured it was going to cost me about $30,000 to do the water lines. It ended up costing around, I'm not even sure, 70 to 80,000, probably 72 to 75, to install 2 miles of water line. And I was able to talk to the people after we were already under contract, or for the ones that we had already sold, and I got them to pay $6,500 per lot for water. And so I thought, oh, it's going to cost me, $24,000. If I can get, 13 people to buy water, then, I'll make whatever, $85,000 or something like that. And, make a $60,000 profit, and I'll just have my one employee go do it, So, as it turns out, I had probably 13 people get water lines. Let me do the math on that real quick. 13 times 6,500, and some people I charged a little bit less. That's 84,500. Like I say, it cost around that to do that. So I didn't actually make any money on that, but it was an awesome learning experience. So I'm just glad I didn't, try to do it at cost, and it cost me like triple.
All right, so you got the water line in, it sufficed, and the city has taken it over?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, how about were there any other utilities besides that?
No sewer. Here it's just septic. And the prices I showed you earlier did not include the $6,500 per lot for the water line. So that was kind of a wash.
Nice. Okay. So we're all listening to this, and it sounds like you are flying under an angel's wing for this whole thing. Tell us about, and I'm sure that your brain has gone, you know, why am I investing in these other things if I can make so much on this? So what processes have you gone down, or what have you thought about, or what have you, I would assume you've continued to search for other deals. Tell us, expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I continue to look for land deals. And in this process, I found a few people that would like to invest with me for some future land deals if I can find another smoking hot deal like that, that I didn't know was a smoking hot deal. Yeah, so I'm still continuing to look for this. Now, here's one thing I did. Okay, so I had a really big gain this year because most of the lots sold this year. It took us a while to kind of build that out, utilities and all that, the electricity and the surveys and the clearing and all that. So most of my gain is for 2020. So I've got a really big tax liability. Well, and this is a little bit off subject, but I think it's important to note. So I found a $2.7 million property that I put under contract this week. It's a really good deal by itself, but what I'm doing is I'm going to do a cost segregation study, accelerate the depreciation, and then I'll get around nearly everything I put into that, I will get as a write-off for this year. So even though I have a huge gain this year, I should be around, you know, zero taxes. So that's kind of a really cool deal. So accelerate the depreciation. Yeah, so it's really exciting. I mean, otherwise I'd be writing out a check for, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to give to our
Will you
government.
share what state that new property's in?
It's in Texas.
Is it in Texas too? Excellent. It's good to stay where you know what's going on. I think that's smart. Since you have one success there, I think it'll be easy to piggyback on that success in the same locale.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not opposed to investing out of state. You know, we've done a number of deals out of state, but it is nice when you can just drive to the place. Although it's like a whole day's journey to get there and back.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about, you know, there was a property we found last summer. Actually, I think it's 2 summers ago, and we called it the 1,000-acre ranch. I want you to talk about that a little bit, go through the pricing, and explore the idea of syndicating it, because we're a group of syndicators. We know how to do it for multifamily, and, you know, we're wondering about the possibilities of syndicating a land deal.
Sure. I was looking for this real quick. Was it 1,004 acres, Max?
Yeah, it was 1,000 and some small change. It's on, you know, it's on the MultifamilyGeeks offers folders. It's in one of the folders. If it's still shared with you. I can find it here.
Does that have the listing? It probably has the listing in there, right?
Probably does.
Okay, while you're pulling that up, yeah, hopefully we have that link to that listing.
1,000-acre ranch.
Okay, I found it. 1,003 acres.
Okay.
All right, we'll see if the link still works here. Okay, so, you know, one thing that can be difficult is when you find a deal that's like bigger than you're comfortable doing, but you know it's a good deal. And this is one of those cases where I found a deal. It's a great deal. Wasn't quite sure if this was something that we could take down. And you don't want to go under contract on a deal that you can't close on, but at the same time, if it's an outstanding deal, then you want to get it. Okay, so found this 1,003 acres in, this is probably 45 minutes from Austin. Beautiful, beautiful property. And I'll see real quick if I can find, there it is on the map. Okay, so I found a really good deal. 1,000 acres for $87.50 per acre. And maybe we should have just placed the offer, got it under contract, and then tried to figure out the money part. But it would be a full development where we would put in water, sewer, electricity, roads. And then I think that in this area, I think that we could have sold it for, probably, max, things are going for like 70,000 an acre out here. So,
Well, at the time it was 12 million plus our whole costs were 12 million, and we calculated at the time a year and a half ago that we could sell it for 65 million.
yeah. So it was an enormous opportunity, fantastic opportunity. And I don't know why my screen is going slow here, but I don't know if it's my computer or that it's trying to do a video call at the same time as all the other. You see how many tabs I got open on my thing? That's probably not helping. Okay, so basically we were going to build this out into 1 acre, mostly 1 acre home sites, and then some 5 acre, 10 acre, and then some multifamily, 15 acres for multifamily, and some commercial land up front. I talked to the neighbor that does the big developments. He said that he could help with this, but we weren't aggressive enough on our terms. We went in there with a longer closing time, longer due diligence time, and we just missed out on the deal. So it's under contract, and I hope it doesn't close because I want to buy it. I've been calling the broker about every week, asking him if he can let me know if it falls through. So, but that would have been a really fun one.
So how many total acres was it?
1,003 acres.
Okay.
And it was on, so if you see this line here, this is the highway. So it's a highway frontage property. Here's a major road that connects 2 cities. And it looks sparsely populated, but about the population starts about here. There's a hospital up here, and then the city is up there. And then there's another city about that kind of starts about 3-4 miles south of here. So I guess on that, and I actually had a nice house on here. It's fenced in. We could put city water and city water on here, and I think we weren't going to put septic on or sewer on there. We were going to let people install their own septics. And then after we've gotten the residential, we would do it multi-phases. We do part of this to fund the rest. Once we do all of that, then we put sewer alongside the front of it on the highway frontage. And then we sell that out to, national tenants, Target, whoever else. Any questions on that? I mean, it's kind of an interesting world, and I don't know if we can all get into it, but but if you find a deal like that, I mean.
And then let me push you one more step, Paul. You also invested on a property on one of the Hawaiian islands. Was that Kona?
I didn't. I ended up not doing that one.
Okay, fine. But tell us about that developer and how they worked on the different tranches of what, to me, I would describe it as multiple syndications aligned with the phases of the development project. Are you able to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really interesting one, and I wanted to invest in it. And as usual, I had too much going on. You know, I got money in the land, I got some in the apartments, I got, you know, just all over the place. And so they had this multi-phased investment to where I don't know how much detail you want me to go in, so I'll just cut me off if I'm going too long here. So essentially, you invest in the phase one, and in that phase one, I think they were going to buy the land, get the entitlements, and then they were going to open it up to phase two. Then you could either cash out or keep your. I think they kind of reset the cost basis so that, let's say you put in 50,000, and then when they start raising for phase two, then they say, well, this has gone up in value by 100%. It's doubled in value now that we've got it purchased and some of the site work done. And so your 50,000 is now worth 100,000. And then the phase two, they would actually build the roads, survey it out, get it split up, put the infrastructure in there, and then get ready to start pre-selling. And then they would kind of cut it off there. And then if they needed to, they would have like a third phase of it to where, and then they would reset the cost basis again. So maybe now your 100,000 is now worth 200,000. So you put in 50,000, now it's worth 200,000. So it's a really neat concept. They used Jill Sidoti for the syndication paperwork, and I read over that. And I'm like, wow, I have never seen paperwork like this. Is really good paperwork. And I've seen some bad paperwork. But I was like, wow, this is really good. He's like, yeah, we get a lot of compliments on our paperwork. It's the strangest thing. So, side note. But yeah, it looked really good. I would love to be a part of that. You know, but I didn't do it.
Was that pre-COVID, or how recent was that?
That was pre-COVID, and I think they're still raising money for it. They may be in phase two. The website is investincona.com, I think.
That's what I was going to ask. You mentioned Kona, so that obviously was on a big island and on the Kona side.
Yeah. And I would love to. I wish I had some free money, but I'm taking all my money and putting it into this new deal here. I'm like, man, I wish I could like just set aside a little bit to throw in that. But you know, and really, here's kind of a side note: if you are going to invest passively, try to do it in a way that you're going to build relationships. Like that, maybe a relationship that you want to extend, or a relationship that you want to start, or because you can get more than just a return from. So I'm not against like CrowdStreet and, you know, these crowdfunding sites, but you're not going to build a relationship there. I have invested with some different people just because I want to further that relationship. And I think this would be an interesting one with this Hawaii guy. And you never know where those relationships will lead. I invested with Viking a few times, and then at one point they're like, hey, we really need a guy like you to help us for our Texas properties. And would you lead MultifamilyGeeks? I talked to Ben and Max, and, you know, I really liked working with them, and, you know, decided to leave them and work with Viking. But that was because I invested with them. That, you know, and I ended up helping them on a couple projects as a passive investor, and you know, one thing led to another. Just for whatever that's worth.
All right, so it's 11 after. We're not doing too bad on time. We've got still to rate and wrap at the end. That takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So we're doing fine. How about questions? I think if you can think of additional questions, you're welcome to email Paul. And Paul, I will drop in your name and email and phone onto our team doc there. I didn't do it yet, you guys. Give me a few minutes and I'll drop it in there. And then you guys can have it for yourself. Paul's also coming back on October 22. We have a Meet the Sponsors event where we're going to have at least 3 sponsors I've got signed up now, and maybe a 4th, I hope. But it'll be Paul. Hopefully it comes through what we've got planned. Jim Stewart, Eric Stewart, and possibly, if I can get Rob Overstreet on that call too, would be 4 sponsors. So then Paul will talk to us about what a sponsorship looks like through Viking on that call. And then in general, even if, you know, probably Paul's always open to calls. You know, one of the interesting things we did with the Multifamily Geeks was just, you know, do a values matching was always part of our process. And that's what's kind of led us to this Geek group. So in a lot of cases, I think we're always trying to look at the values matches as potential partners at some point. So, well, if there's no more questions now, Paul, definitely thank you for all that. And I'm not sure how to go ahead, Michael.
Next, I got a question. Since Paul is there in the Texas market, I look around a lot of the smaller secondary cities. What is your opinion about how the multifamily business is going? Is because some of the cities like Midland and some of the ones that were hit hard because of the oil impact of COVID were hit hard. So I'm going to follow up with some of the brokers in that area, but what is your impression about what's going on in some of the secondary markets in Texas?
I think that you should be looking at those. Waco, the area between Dallas and Austin and San Antonio, you can still find some deals for a pretty low cost per door. And, you know, there's kind of a Texas triangle where you have, you know, if you look at the map, you'll see that you have Dallas, Fort Worth up at the top. You have Houston to the, think about my geography here, the southeast, and then you have Austin and San Antonio to the southwest. So I think those are all going to continue to grow together towards each other. So if you can find something, you know, I think Waco's a great spot. It's, you know, for a long time it's been out of favor, but I think, you know, they say it's going to be the new Austin in 10 years. So yeah, I would be looking at those. A lot of the stuff we're seeing in the Texas Triangle, it's the 3 cap for those. So, you know, it's really hard to find anything because, you know, so, but you can find some stuff in the secondary markets. You know, the one I got is a 6.8 cap, and it's only 10 years old. So it's I think it's a really nice product.
Yeah, because I just had a broker send me something out of San Angelo, and I asked him what the market cap rate. He was saying it was somewhere in the 5.5 range, and that just surprised me about that.
That it was high or that it was low?
That it was that low.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the new normal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
All right, you guys. Well, great to have you, Paul, of course. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I appreciate you coming on and telling us about that. The interesting thing is sometimes I feel like we get in a rut where we feel like there's no good deals out there or we can't find anything to make work. And then, you know, there's always those defying that sort of concept. So, and I appreciate that you're doing that. And hopefully it gives us some energy to continue down the path. Okay, so I think at this point, unless we've got something else to cover that I'm forgetting, let's go ahead and do the rate and wrap part, all right? Go back to that shared document.